you take a step back and you start rethinking your life. And this is what happened with me. I was diagnosed out of nowhere when I didn't expect that. There was no family history. There was nothing that would indicate that I may have a problem. I went into this very deep, dark place thinking, oh my gosh, I'm going to die. My customers keep coming back because once you try, there's always almost no going back.
Welcome back to the ChefJKP Podcast. And on the show today, we are extremely excited to welcome Magdalena Orzechowska. I'm going to go again. Ready? Orzechowska, right?
Orzechowska.
Okay, I'm going to go again. So take two. Welcome back to the ChefJKP Podcast. And on the show today, we are extremely excited to have the one and only Magdalena Orzechowska, who is the founder of Aroma Di Olio. Not only that, she is a master olive oil sommelier and consultant. Magdalena, welcome to the show.
Hello, James. It's great to be here.
So, first question, as always, favorite childhood food memory?
Oh my goodness. Okay. There is a lot of them, but there is one particular one that I will never forget. An open sandwich with cheese, butter, tomato, and onion. And I'll tell you why. It's very specific.
I like it.
It's got to be all these ingredients.
Okay.
I grew up in Poland. And when I was growing up, we were still a communist country. And it was a poor country. It was a country where we didn't have access to many products. Okay, whatever was locally produced or whatever was in the shops at that time, it was basically snatched off. But to fresh produce, we had access seasonally. As and when things grew, then we could get them. So obviously, tomatoes were not accessible all year round like now. We could get them from, April until October, maybe.
And then they were gone.
So I remember, and I was a picky eater always. So my mom always had she knew what I would have always. It was bread and butter and a slice of cheese. And then when April came, she would give me a tomato and a bit of onion. And that was just the best thing.
Wow.
I knew the spring was coming. I knew good times were coming. I knew summer was coming.
Wow.
So yeah, it's I was thinking about this. What is it that really reminds me of my childhood when it comes to food? And it is that open sandwich.
So do you have it now?
Of course. Of course I have it now. And this is my comfort food. I can do it in a minute. And obviously I have all these ingredients all the time. But now I really take care of the quality of these ingredients.
So what's better? Is it when you're in Dubai or when you're back in Poland?
It's best when I'm back in Poland in the summer. And I just have it, I just buy all my produce locally in a small shop around the corner.
Wow.
It is better.
So then, as you were growing up as a teenager, because I'm not too familiar with Polish foods, what were the types of foods you were eating?
What were we eating? Tomato soup, pickled cucumber soup, mushroom soup, lots of potatoes, obviously, and various meats. I stopped eating meat when I was about 19, but I continued with fish. But yeah, potatoes were always there. Pasta was always there. But it was fairly, I would say, basic food, not complicated, hardly any processed foods. It was only in the mid-90s or early 90s when we became a democratic country, when everything was accessible. We became, open to European foods, to other world foods. Suddenly everything was in the stores. And I learned actually, whoa, there's other things that are actually, they taste nice, but they don't look like really food. So my became a, go-to thing was a Snickers bar because I discovered that when I was probably about 14. And I had no idea how bad it is for me. So I ate a lot of that.
But it's a chef's favorite, by the way, Snickers.
Is it?
Yeah, it's the snack you have on the side.
During a break. It always
break.
gave me energy. Always.
So the other thing I wanted to ask, which I think is quite interesting, is obviously different countries, as you know, for example, Italy, they have lots of various street foods, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is there a street food scene in Poland?
Yes.
Tell me about that.
Yes. Okay. So something that I remember from my very, very early years, and it's still there now in various forms, is something that we called zapiekanka. Zapiekanka is basically a baguette, long baguette cut in half, and you put on it, guess what? Cheese, mushroom, and lots of ketchup.
But the mushroom is raw or cooked?
It's cooked.
Right.
It can be pre-cooked. It can be fried. Okay. If you fry it before, put it on it, then it's better. If you just put it raw, you put it very quickly in an oven.
Yeah.
But back in the day, people would even put it just in a microwave for 5 seconds. Off you go. And guess how it tasted? It's like when it's winter, it's really cold. You go to this. It wasn't even a shop. It would normally be like a sort of a camper van sort of thing. You would buy it off that truck, basically, like a food truck.
Yeah.
So that was something that was always there. The bread with cheese, mushroom, and ketchup. It doesn't sound very Polish, I know, but it's a very Polish street food. Very Polish. Now it comes in different shapes and forms, so you can get different toppings, and became massive. There are shops specializing just in that. You can get pizza places when 20 different pizzas. You can get 20 different or 30 different zapiekankas.
Wow. But it sounds like Poland has a lot of hearty home food, comfort food.
Yes. And I guess it's probably because of the weather and the fact that my parents grew up at the time when there was not much else in the shops. So whatever grew locally and whatever we could get like in a local shop, that's what we cooked. And my parents were never very good cooks, so they were never very inventive. So that's why, when you ask me what I ate when I was younger, it's very repetitive, but it's so delicious. I don't mind. It's not like we were eating the same thing every day, but the tomato soup was there at least once a week. The cucumber soup was there at least once a week. But then, of course, there was lots of gravies cooked with, fresh parsnip, parsley. You make gravy from scratch. You don't make gravy from powder. We didn't know gravy from powder. Now I know that, and I know, okay, I don't want to have it anymore. I want to have the proper gravy now.
Yeah.
Even I don't eat meat, but I still make nice gravies without meat with all these veggies. So the base is nice. The base is good quality.
Wow. So then, after your teenage years, when it comes to your education, what was the path you decided to take?
Okay, the path I decided to take, I was very confused. I just didn't know what I wanted to do. All I knew, James, was I just want to have a good time. I was 18, 19 at the time when I was finishing college, and I had to choose, where to go to university. Obviously, my parents my father was a bit pushy. My mom was go with the flow, do whatever feels right for you. She was never like, oh, you have to do this. While my father was very ambitious for himself, I guess. He was, you can become a doctor or you can become an architect. I was like, no. So I had no idea what to do. And in the end, I decided to go to study finance and banking.
Whoa,
because
serious.
It was serious because it sounded like, it's a proper career path. It can be interesting, I could dress up nicely. I can be in the nice environment. It sounded like it could be something I can find myself in. Although I really didn't know that much about finance and banking. And I wasn't very good at mathematics either,
So you wanted to have a nice time.
And a good life.
And a good life. And you thought, okay, I'm going to go into finance and banking.
And it was also, James, at the time when we were going through the transition, again, from going to a proper democratic country, when suddenly universities were offering not just, psychology and history and very traditional subjects, but we were going more into economy, management, all the things that, help you thrive in corporate world. So all these were advertised as something that will give you exciting, a good life, something that was opposite to what our parents had. Okay, so I ended up finance and banking.
How was it?
Okay, first year, I was like, okay, so many nice people. Actually, it was quite interesting. It was very, very tough, but quite interesting. But then I think after the first year, I had an internship with one of the biggest banks in Poland for 3 months. And these 3 months proved to me that this is not the place for me. I was so bored. I was bored to death.
And so it didn't challenge you.
They didn't challenge me in any way. And I guess they didn't know really what to do with the students. But I was observing other people. I was shadowing other people doing different roles. I was like, oh my God, how can they do it all day long? So I was like, no, that's definitely not for me. I just knew it wasn't for me. But I didn't know what else to do. So I continued with my studies. And I studied for the full 5 years.
Whoa.
Full 5 years. But the good thing was that, later on, because I did my BA in one institution and then my master's degree in another one, during the master's degree, I could pretty much choose what I studied. I could pick up subjects. So I was drifting away from the hardcore mathematics, finance, banking, more to the history of economy, psychology, HR, these sort of things. But also at that time, I left Poland and I continued my studies while I wasn't really attending. I was just coming for exams because I lived in the UK.
Oh my God.
So I was working and studying and trying to figure out what to do with my life, because I didn't go to the UK to work in the bank, obviously. I started in a very different position.
Which was what?
Okay, it was actually, the whole adventure with the UK started when I was still at university. And the plan was just to go for holiday, to earn some money. And I didn't care if I go to France to pick grapes or if I go to Sweden to pick cucumber. It didn't matter. I just wanted to have a holiday adventure and earn some cash. And I found this guy in Poland who was saying, oh yeah, there's lots of work in the UK. You can work in hotels for £4 an hour. And back then, £4 an hour, when the conversion rate was probably 7 Polish zlotys to £1, it was huge. Like, people were probably normally earning in this type of jobs probably maybe £1 an hour, maybe. So I decided to go. Okay, it turned out that it was a scam. I paid this guy, but I did it with my boyfriend, now my husband. We were young, we were naive, we just wanted to have an adventure. So we paid this guy, we thought we checked him, we had his passport and everything. It was a scam. So we took a coach, not a plane, a coach, to the UK from Poland, which was 28 hours. We got there and we called the number that this guy gave us to a Polish lady in a recruitment agency who was supposed to have a job for us. And she says, no, there's no job. Well, if I tell you now there's a job in New York, would you go? I said, no, I wouldn't. So why did you come here? There's no jobs. You don't have a permit to work here, because we didn't. There was nothing. It was illegal. It was before the European Union. So we got there. It's like, okay, what do we do?
Adventure started,
but we were so tired. But guess what happened? So we still went to that agency because we knew where it was. We used, if not even a taxi, a bus or something. We got there, and there's this big sign on the door: do not come in if you don't have a work permit. Because it was so obvious back then that there were so many illegal workers. But we still kept knocking at the door, but there was no one there, no one was opening. And then I saw in the back of my eye 2 policemen walking towards us, like really fast. And I was like, I grabbed my suitcase and I said to my boyfriend, hey, let's go. It's not our hotel. It's not here. And we just left. So we went back to the to the bus station, trying to figure out what to do. It was ridiculous. Wow. Because we had like maybe £150 on us altogether. But we managed to find accommodation because someone that we knew through someone else lived in London. So they helped us. Then that person told us, this is the daily free paper or magazine. There's job advertisements at the back of it. Call all these jobs and find a job. I was like, oh, how? What do? I don't even speak proper English. I was like, no, you'll be fine. In the end, she was calling for me. And that same night, it's all happening in the span of like 24 hours. The same night, we went for a job interview. It was a barge on River Thames, like a really old barge. We go there 10 p.m. And then
for the interview.
10 p.m. We go for the interview. The job spec was that there was this guy in the restaurant on the river looking for a couple that will help run the restaurant and do some maintenance work. I was like, okay, perfect. There's my boyfriend who can do the maintenance work. I can do the restaurant work. We go there, and then there is this Michael. He sits there like a captain of this boat, starts interviewing us. Do you have any experience? I was like, yes, I worked in McDonald's. I never did. Looks at him. Can you paint? It's like, yeah, I can do everything. So he said to us, okay, next day, there's a very big party here, 21st birthday of someone important. There will be about 100 people. Come for a test, and then if I like you, if you like it, you stay. And he says, 5 o'clock. So okay, 5 o'clock we go. 5 o'clock. Okay, it sounded early, but we decided to go for it. So guess what? The next day we packed all our things because he said it was also a living position because he had a flat nearby. So we gathered all our stuff. We went there early in the morning, 5 a.m.
5 a.m.
5 a.m. sitting, waiting. He's not there. 5:30, he's not there. And then we were thinking, he probably meant 5 p.m. because in Poland we operate 24-hour clock. So 5 to us would be 17.
Right.
Not 5.
And was it 5 p.m.?
It was 5. Of course it was 5
no.
p.m. Of course it was 5 p.m. So we went back to the coach station. We just sat there for about 10 hours.
Sleeping.
We went back, sleeping, really exhausted. And then we went and we started working for this guy. It was mental. It was crazy. It was like, suddenly we were in an environment of a huge party when I had no idea what to do. I didn't know what. There was a bar, there was a waitress, there was so much food going in and out of the kitchen. We had no idea what to do. My husband was washing the dishes all the time. There was no other thing to do. But in the end, the guys.
Did you get the job?
We got the job. The funny thing was, James, was that this guy later we happened to be at the time when there was this huge party. Otherwise, this place was very quiet. So what happened? This guy basically fired everyone else. He only kept us. He went on holiday for 2 weeks and he said, okay, you can run the place now. So we learned how to run. It was then a very small operation we learned, but we learned how to, pour beer, for example. I had no idea how to do it. My customers had to teach me. So it was a very funny story, but we ended up working with this guy every summer. Every summer we would go back to study, and then we would come back every summer to work for him. And then after we finished uni, we actually went back to work for him. But then very quickly, I knew it was only my summer job. So after 3 months, I found another job, and then my husband also found somewhere else to work. But the relationship with Michael continues until this day. He's now in his 80s, I believe.
What a legend.
He's a legend because he had a very big heart. He's the sole person why our adventure with the UK lasted for not just for one summer, but for 13 years. We ended up living there for 13 years because he showed us a big heart. So I tell you what he did after that first summer. It was horrendous. It was very hard. We didn't know what to do. And he was also very, he would shout a lot. A lot. And he would never say sorry, but he would pay you more at the end of the week. But also what he did.
Guilt money.
Yeah, but also what he did. He said, okay, you work really hard. Why don't you go to my place? I have this lovely place in the south of England. So you have a week of holidays. So he took us to the most gorgeous place I've ever seen. It's in the south of England, in a place called New Forest, where there's wild horses and cows in the forest. And he has this beautiful mansion there in a private estate. So we stayed there for a week. So basically all our pains and sorrows of that summer disappeared because we had the time to relax. And we could go there like any time now. He moved now back to that area. He gave up the restaurant life because he had a few and they all went bust.
Well, look, if we fast forward to now, that is a serious adventure. And thank God, well done, Michael, Sir Michael. If we fast forward what you're doing now, what I'm really interested in is how did you become a sommelier of extra virgin olive oils? Because it's a very technical thing to get into. Normally you have sommelier of wine, whatever, so on and so forth. But extra virgin olive oils, why?
Yeah, I never thought that a thing like that even exists. I never thought about olive oil in my life, never ever. I continued my career not in banking, not in finance, but in corporate world. So what I studied in the end did help me, okay? But then about 6 years ago, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. And when that happened, in general, when something like this happens to you, you take a step back and you start rethinking your life. And this is what happened with me. I was diagnosed out of nowhere when I didn't expect that. There was no family history. There was nothing that would indicate that I may have a problem.
So out of the blue.
Out of the blue. And I was only 38 then. So I had no idea. I didn't expect that. I wasn't even thinking in terms that I could get cancer. Like, I was young, and why? But it happened that I did. So obviously the first thing that happened, I went like into this very deep, dark place thinking, oh my gosh, I'm going to die. I have a young son. He was only 5 or 6 at that time. I was like, what am I going to do with my life? And that lasted for about, I don't know, a week or so. But at that time, I was seeing an oncologist, and she was helping me to understand the whole process, that it's not that bad, that it can be cured. Although, my stage was quite late. But so I decided, okay, I go through all the, conventional treatment, the chemotherapy, surgery, radiology, all of that. But you know what you also do? You go to Dr. Google and you ask Dr. Google.
Dr. Google.
And Dr. Google obviously tells you that chemotherapy causes more cancer than it cures. Radiotherapy will burn your skin. You will feel even worse. You will, if it cures that cancer, it will give you another cancer. So you keep reading, and your mind basically is all over the place. I had no idea what to do, and I had zero knowledge of this topic. I never even had, proper contact with anyone with cancer. So I thought, okay, I need to push these thoughts away. I need to do that, and I started reading a lot. I was really interested in the subject. What can I do to take matters in my own hands? Because I knew that if I go with the traditional medical treatments, I will follow a program or a pattern, and it's kind of out of my hands what they will give me, what I would, I can either say yes or no. I can't give them any input because I have no idea. And the more I read, the more I realized the power of food and how that can heal you. And when I was specifically researching what can a cancer patient do, the more information kept popping up about a power of very high fat, low carb diet. So that led me into thinking, okay, ketogenic diet, but how do I do that? I don't eat meat, and I wasn't prepared to start eating meat again. And keto is very much based on meat. So very quickly that turned into the Mediterranean diet. There was so much research about that. And diving deeper and deeper, I realized it's not just any fat I need to have in my diet. It's the extra virgin olive oil I have to have in my diet, because that's the queen of all fats. Comparing to other oils and other fats, the nutritional benefits and health benefit of that oil can't be compared to anything else. So I thought, this is my thing. I'm going to do that. And literally from day 1 to the second day, I dropped virtually all my carbs. Plus, I wasn't really hungry because I was having chemo, but I had to eat something. So I would literally have like a slice of cheese, always that cheese.
Tomato as well?
Tomato as well. Drizzled with olive oil. Or an avocado and cheese. It's my sandwich, but without the bread.
Yes.
Avocado, cheese, tomato, fresh onion, and a bit of olive oil. So I was slowly switching to that. And guess what happened? But I was very strict with my diet. So it was like almost zero carbs. The only carbs I would have was from veggies, mainly.
But chemo is an extremely difficult thing to go through.
It is.
And the doctors tell you that obviously you need to eat because you need an appetite. So to cut out carbs completely, you must have been really weak, no?
I was weak at the beginning when my first chemo hit me, because I felt like, I don't know, a truck ran over me.
Yes, yeah.
I could just be in bed for a week, and I wasn't even so after the first chemo, I wasn't touching any food for a week. I just couldn't take anything at all. But in the second week, I could. So I started eating. But you know what? Okay, you cut out the carbs, but you give yourself energy through fat. Because I wasn't eating less than I would normally eat. I would probably have a tiny piece of bread because I would be full anyway. But instead, I was having a lot of fat. I was drizzling my food with olive oil, so that gave me a lot of calories and a lot of nutrients without the effort of having to physically eat and swallow and chew, if you
Right.
know what I mean, because that would make you feel very sick again. So that was a lifesaver for me. What then happened? I had 16 rounds of chemo altogether. That took about 6 months. I had my first checkup after the first 2 or 3 chemos because that was mid Feb. So I think that was probably about 3 rounds. I can't remember, maybe 4. No, maybe 3 rounds. And I was on this very, very strict diet, literally 0 sugar, 0 carbs, lots of fat. My tumors virtually disappeared. They melted away. And the doctors were looking at these results and they're like, how did that happen? What the amazing response to chemo. I said, no, it's not just chemo because you gave me 16 rounds of chemo. This is now happening only after 3 rounds of chemo. It's my diet as well. And they were looking at me like, you know what doctors are often. They go through
They have to go through the worst case all the time, don't they?
And I was like, no, it's not that. It's the way I eat as well. And I was so like obsessed with this way of eating because also what started to happen, like when you take out sugar and carbs of your diet, your brain works on a different level altogether. Being so weak and so tired, I could read all the time because my brain was working. I was really sharp, like really sharp. I could understand information. I could process information. I could remember information. So I was like this, lying in bed, physically really, really sick, but mentally really alert. It was crazy. So I kept reading, and the more I read, I was like, oh my God, why didn't I know about this superfood? So that's how it all started. But back then, I didn't have a business idea or an idea that I would become an olive oil consultant. But I realized that, what we have in supermarkets is really difficult to distinguish what's good, what was bad, and there's no information and there is no assistance. You cannot really ask anyone. It's not like if you lived in Europe or Spain or Italy or somewhere when there's always a local shop around the corner with the owner is there and he buys or she buys all these products and she knows what she buys and you good quality because you can actually talk to them about that. In the UAE, I found this extremely challenging. I couldn't find what I was looking for. And what I was looking for was very specific. It was extra virgin olive oil, high in polyphenols or antioxidants.
So what is polyphenols?
Polyphenols is basically this nutrient or compound in olive oil that acts as antioxidant. So there is hundreds of them. And they also appear in fruits and in veggies and in other foods. But in extra virgin olive oil, they're extremely concentrated. So the more you get of them, the higher the health benefit you get.
Okay. So then if we go back to, did you still have to do 16 rounds of chemo or was it reduced because of your diet?
No, I still had to go through 16 rounds of chemo because my medical team wouldn't. It was always my choice. I could say no, I'll do less, but I didn't have the almost like the proof and the grounds that what I'm doing will continue working.
Okay.
Because most of the scientific research is based, to do proper scientific research is very costly and very difficult, and it basically is done by pharmaceutical companies, and it's all proven there on paper. And I didn't want to fight that. I want to combine that. I wanted to do what my oncologist was telling me because I really trusted her with what I found out and what I read. So I didn't want to do one or another. I wanted to do everything together. And I continued through the entire treatment.
So then you did your chemo. Did you also do radio?
Everything.
Okay, so you smashed all of that and well done because it's not an easy thing to go through. When was it that you actually formulated the idea to take, extra virgin olive oil very seriously to then have your own business?
It happened, well, actually, when I was doing one of my last chemos, I was in hospital and my friend came to sit with me. And I said, yeah, you come and sit, but most of the time I just sleep. But we did talk in the end. And And she was asking me like, okay, all these olive oils, where do you get them from? I was like, you know what? I ended up buying them either from abroad or asking friends who were traveling to get me some fresh olive oil from Italy. And then it just occurred to me, it's like, oh my God, because I had cancer. There's thousands of people that get cancer, thousands of people that get other serious diseases that antioxidants from olive oil can help with. I was like, if I am prepared to go to such a length to get the olive oil I want, to ask friends to buy from abroad, to pay extra money for the shipment, and with so many people being ill, I was like, that is a business idea. I can help so many people by doing this, because I also gathered the knowledge what good olive oil is. It's not any other olive oil. So that's when it all happened. And I became very excited. So after all of that, I kept going because, sometimes you have a business idea, you go to sleep next morning, it's not as exciting. With this thing, that would never stop. I kept thinking, I kept researching. It's like, oh my God, I want to know, I want to do this. Because also I felt the power of it, that, I managed to go through all of that with the help of Mediterranean diet and olive oil and stay relatively sane and healthy in a way. Okay, maybe physically not so healthy, but mentally I was healthy. I was there for my son, we were like going through this together. And I kept thinking, what would happen if I gave up? Or if I even died, And I wasn't thinking about myself. I was thinking about my son. What would happen? How he would take it. My mom also lives with me. How she would take it. My husband, how he would take it. So I was really motivated by helping others to survive so their families don't have to suffer. Because I could only see, the fear in my child's eyes when he realized kind of what was going on. And he only realized when I lost my hair. It wasn't before that. Because before, mommy was mommy.
Yes.
She was just tired.
Yeah.
But when I lost my hair, when he saw me for the first time, he couldn't look at me. He looked away. He looked away. He was like, mommy, I'm scared. But then he came to me at night and he started stroking me. I was like, oh, mommy, you are like a warrior, like a proper soldier now. I was like, oh, yes. So, he gave me that strength. And that also gave me the strength to help others, because I knew how much of a difference it made to me. Regardless how much it physically helped, it gave me the strength and power to fight, to survive, to continue. And I knew that is physically I can do. I can control that disease. I can battle that. And it gave me more power in my head than the chemo, radio, and surgeries.
Wow, that's incredible. So the company, first of all, is called Aroma Di Olio.
Yes.
Right? But so that's the company. But then you have a double certification, almost kind of like a degree.
Yes.
In extra virgin olive oils. Did you have that before you had the business or afterwards?
It happened in the process of creating the business.
Right.
Because when I had the business idea, I knew, okay, I'm going to open, and it wasn't just an olive oil shop. You know how businesses are created. You have, it develops. I was thinking maybe some sort of a meal plan, some advice, some consulting. But then I wasn't either a chef or a cook. I wasn't a nutritionist. I wasn't a dietitian. I had a finance degree, and I worked in the corporate world as a retail buyer for my entire life. I was like, okay, but I know what I know. I know that it helps, and I know it's a good business idea. What I needed to do to get qualified, and so I started looking, and I found lots of sommelier courses that would last for a week, maybe 5 days here and there. There's lots of them in Italy, lots of them in Spain. There's something in New York, something in London even. But I thought I need technical knowledge, because if I am to buy olive oil for other people, I need to understand really what I'm getting. And then I found this place called the Olive Oil School of Spain, which is the only and is the most advanced institution in the olive oil education in the world, that teaches you not just how to taste olive oil, but it teaches you the whole journey of the fruit, of the tree, of the soil, how it becomes extra virgin olive oil. So I was, studying things like how to, look after the olive grove. What are I know the pests that can eat the plant. You know how it all affects the olive oil.
So it was extremely
It
scientific.
was extremely scientific, and it also was branching from. It was literally from growing to production to tasting to preserving to logistics. It was the whole supply chain. How to make sure that extra virgin olive oil is extra virgin olive oil at the end of when it ends up on the shelf in a supermarket, for example. But it also taught me how to analyze chemical reports, because I didn't know that every bottle of olive oil, every production of olive oil has to be legally called extra virgin. It has to have certain parameters, chemical parameters. It has to be tested in a third-party lab. So I learned how to read these analyses, and I learned how to tell the average olive oil from a very good extra virgin olive oil. So now when I buy olive oil for my shop, for my customers, I go through these lab reports, through this analysis, and I check every single parameter. It became something that I thought I'll just have a shop.
So hold
to
on.
something that became very chemically complicated.
But every single olive oil, extra virgin olive oil, I will say,
Yes.
must have this chemical certification.
Yes,
It must
It's-
legally.
it's a must.
And is this throughout the world?
It is throughout the world.
Wow.
It is throughout the world. So I ask for a few. There's a couple of things that needs to be tested. It's always the most thing that most of people can understand is the acidity, and the acidity of extra virgin olive oil has to be below 0.8%. And what that means, if you think of a fresh olive fruit on the tree, a healthy olive fruit, or any other fruit, its acidity is 0. It's a healthy fruit. The minute you pick it off the tree, it starts deteriorating, and the acidity goes up. So that's why it's super important to process your olives very quickly, like within a matter of 4 hours, from the tree to the mill. It has
4 hours.
4 hours. So if the producers don't do it that quickly, or if they pick the fruit not from the tree but from the ground, and you don't know how long it's been there for, or if they store the fruit somewhere in the yard for a couple of days, the acidity will go up massively. And then when you produce it, it's no longer extra virgin because its acidity is above 0.8. So what then happens, it may fall in the virgin territory if it's just slightly above 0.8. But if it's more than that, it's not suitable for human consumption. And this is what we call in the industry lampante oil, basically suitable only for burning in lamps. But it's not thrown away. It's then processed in a way like you would process a sunflower oil or canola oil, with chemicals, with heat, to get rid of anything that smells bad, anything that doesn't look good. So you get this very clear oil that is stripped of anything that was good in it. So any antioxidants, any polyphenols, and anything that was bad in it after the processing that was too late. And then you get something that is called olive oil. So if in a shop you see something that is called olive oil, not extra virgin, not virgin, that means it's been processed like any other highly refined oil in the market.
But tell me those numbers for the extra virgin olive oil. I want to know.
So the extra virgin, it has to be below 0.8%. The
Below
acidity.
0.8.
Below 0.8%. If it's between 0.8 and 2%, I believe, it's then virgin. If it's above 2%, then it's no longer virgin. It isn't then olive oil.
But then the one that has the most advanced health benefits is purely, for everyone to know, extra virgin olive oil.
It's extra virgin olive oil. And the ultra high quality extra virgin olive oils will have acidity nowhere near 0.8. They would have 0.1, 0.2, maybe 0.3. Like the super, super, super high quality.
So I'm just trying to do some maths here. So, and I'm taking my chef's head here, Magdalena. So the harvest, you have a 4-hour window, number one, to harvest everything. Extra virgin olive oil, which has the highest amount of polyphenols, must be below 0.8.
Yes.
However, the lower on the scale, the better.
Yes, the
correct?
fresher. The fresher almost,
okay.
yes.
So then the thing that I want to also understand from a health point of view is why should an extra virgin olive oil the bottle. How do we store it? Should it be a see-through bottle or should it be black? Tell me about that.
Okay. So antioxidants in olive oil are affected by heat and light. So, and also the acidity goes up when it's exposed to heat and light. That's why it's so important to process that fruit very quickly. Some top olive oils are even harvested at night, so they are not exposed to sunlight at all and processed in the morning. And then the temperature in the mill has to be maintained. There's a set of, below, I think about 24 degrees. The machinery shouldn't be, hotter than that. So it has to be controlled all the time. So, and then when you have that olive oil in the bottle, you definitely should store it in cool conditions, not in the fridge, but, anything between 12, 22 degrees.
So in a dark cupboard.
Dark cupboard. Or if you have a bottle that is, because definitely you shouldn't have a see-through bottle.
That's bad.
That's bad. And straight away, it's poor quality olive oil if a producer puts that in a glass like that.
Right.
If you have dark green, it's better. But if you have properly painted bottle,
so that's the key.
That's the key, because then you can keep it on your, on the table, and it's not affected by the light. Because even if you go to a supermarket, you look at the top shelf of olive oils, it's normally the highest quality or price. And often some of these bottles are in glass, see-through glass or dark glass.
Yeah.
But they're exposed to light from the top all the time, from the ceilings. So I say in most cases, just avoid the top shelf because they get the most exposure to light and you don't know how long they've been sitting there for. So as long as they are properly painted, then it's fine. But if they are not, you get that exposure. So then with the light, it deteriorates. The acidity goes up and the amount of polyphenols or antioxidants go down. It's the same when you open your bottle, close it really tightly.
Because
of oxygen. When oxygen goes in, it starts, destroying polyphenols.
Right.
And so it's also very important when you have your bottle, there are special, I don't know what they're called, professionally, stoppers.
Corks or seals or something like that.
Yes, so when you put the bottle back, it almost doesn't allow any oxygen in.
Right.
Even better when you get like you can get boxes, and in these boxes you can get bags with a little tap. Every time you open the tap, the olive oil comes out. When you close it, the access to oxygen goes out completely. So it doesn't get oxidized. Because again, oxygen is one of the worst enemies of olive oil. It gets rancid when it gets too much oxygen.
But then the other thing I wanted to ask you, now every human's body composition is different. But if I wanted to start my extra virgin olive oil journey, some people say you should have a teaspoon or a tablespoon, I'm not sure, you can tell me, in the morning, first thing when you wake up, to have that. Obviously, the diet, what would you recommend? If you had an incredible olive oil, what's the best way to consume it?
Okay. So what I would say, because especially here in the UAE, because there's so many cultures, so many people, everyone eats in a different way. Even I eat different to my husband, for example. Olive oil is something that you can make any diet healthier with, okay? So if you are not prepared to start cooking with olive oil, it's enough. Just going back a little bit, I don't really believe in having olive oil on its own. It's very healthy, but I don't think it's sustainable. In the end of the day, it's food. We need to enjoy our food. So having olive oil on its own, okay, I love doing that, but it's not everybody's cup of tea.
But there's a lot of celebrities, by the way, who do it.
First thing in the morning.
First thing in the morning.
Yeah.
And they really...
It's very healthy. It's super healthy. But at the end of the day, I don't think it's as enjoyable as having it with your food.
True. You're talking to a foodie audience.
Yeah. So olive oil, extra virgin olive oil, is actually super tasty. It's not just a fat medium. It's actually, it's a very nutritional ingredient. So it will make anything more tasty. It will it make you eat more veggies, for example, because if you drizzle your veggies with olive oil and put it in the oven and or grill them, they will become more tasty than if you drizzle them with sunflower oil, for example. So I would say start with drizzling on everything, on your sandwich with cheese and tomato,
Sourdough.
I would put even that, I always put even like a teaspoon in my morning espresso. So I top up my food with extra virgin olive oil. So if you put a few drops here, a teaspoon here and there, suddenly at the end of the day, you consume, I don't know, a few tablespoons a day. So the first step I would say just use for drizzling rather than cooking if you're not ready for that, but also replace any fat that you use currently with olive oil, and straight away you get the amount you need, plus you get the tasty results and healthy results. Because there's also this myth that you cannot cook with olive oil, with extra virgin olive oil, which is the biggest lies of all. I've seen
Tell me why.
much research, James, so much research about the fact that cooking with extra virgin olive oil is not only possible, it's also the healthiest method of cooking. There's two aspects of that. First of all, the chemical structure of olive oil is mainly monounsaturated fats with a little bit of saturated. Monounsaturated fat doesn't break down easily in the heat. So even if you heat it up normally in the home conditions, we don't use extremely high temperatures for many hours. It's maybe, I don't know, maybe you bake something for an hour. Not much happens with it. It doesn't break down into toxic compounds. What really breaks down into toxic compounds is the fats that are made of mainly polyunsaturated fats. So your canola oil, sunflower oils, highly processed refined oils, they break down, okay? And when they break down, the oil becomes so toxic that at some point it's unfit for human consumption. So there was this study in Australia a few years ago now, when they tested extra virgin olive oil and I think it was canola oil or one of these highly processed refined oils in a proper fryer, when you make like chips.
Yes.
In a restaurant setting, for 6 hours. So, it was in and out, cooking in the same oil all the time. After these 6 hours, the deterioration of extra virgin olive oil was there, but it was minor, and it hardly produced any toxic compounds. The deterioration of that other oil was so bad, it was so toxic, it was unfit for human consumption totally. So it just proves to you that, or to everyone, that every oil will deteriorate in heat, in the long exposure to heat, but not as much if it's monounsaturated fat. So I think there might be a couple of other oils in the world that are also that have that kind of construction, if you may. I think it's peanut oil and something else, but they don't get the antioxidant boost that you get from extra virgin. So that's one aspect of it, but also the antioxidants or the polyphenols make the oil even more stable. That's why it's very suitable for high heat cooking, for baking, for grilling, for anything.
Because the thing that we teach at the cookery school is that because extra virgin olive oil are cold pressed.
Yes.
We don't want that olive oil to go up above 100 degrees centigrade because the change tastes, it goes slightly even more bitter. Whereas if you have a canola oil or a corn oil, it's designed to go above 240 degrees C. But in saying that, it makes complete sense from a health perspective, actually. But I think the other thing that we need to think about here from a business point of view is that you wouldn't necessarily fill a 20-liter deep fat fry with extra virgin olive oil because it's so expensive.
No, yeah, that is true. It's very expensive because it's very expensive to produce high quality. That's why it's called cold press, because we need to have the machinery that will keep the temperature down. So yes, it is expensive to make. So I can't imagine using that in a setting when you use liters and liters and liters to fry your food. Yeah. Because from the economical perspective, hardly any restaurant could afford that. Yes. But on the other hand, when what you say that above 100 degrees, it changes the taste. I find it extremely difficult to to understand. Because to me, the olive oil always enhances the taste. And if you say it becomes more bitter, so it may be to do with the quality that you started off with, because maybe it wasn't extra virgin olive oil.
Yes. Well, now exactly. It might be like a virgin olive oil, or it might be
just olive oil.
There's so many.
Or pomace olive oil.
Pomace oil.
And you know pomace is the waste product. It's basically, you know what that is?
Tell me.
Pomace olive oil
Listen, chefs, please.
Okay, when you have, it's the cheapest of all olive oils that you will find. What it is when you get olive pressed in the mill, you get the waste. The waste is the skins, the pits, maybe some branches, some leaves. Is then taken to a refinery when it's treated with heat, with chemicals to extract the last few droplets of oil.
And that's what pomace is.
That is exactly what pomace is. So it can be, used in high temperatures, but it's highly refined, and it also may have trans fat in them as well.
Wow.
So yes, and it will have, in most cases, very little taste or very little flavor. So it doesn't give you anything. It's just your medium to use as fat. But it has, but also very often what happens when you have pomace oil or olive oil, on the label, the word pomace is tiny. The olive oil is very big. So this is what you see. And you think, oh, I'm buying olive oil. But now you know that actually olive oil is not, it's still a processed food. It's still high refined oil. You always need to look for extra virgin or virgin. These two, if you are looking for health.
Yeah, absolutely.
For health benefits.
So that's what I want to ask you next. When it comes to your business, you are very much kind of like a chef, because you source the very best olive oils or extra virgin olive oils in the world. But you actually know your suppliers or the farmers personally.
Yes.
Why did you decide to do that? Why is that important?
Okay. That is important because I want my producers to be my partners. I want to trust them. And there is so much food fraud within this industry. I couldn't go, I wanted to make my life easier at the beginning. And I thought, because importing directly from producers from all these countries is very difficult and time consuming and expensive. And I thought I can find some good distributors here who buy already olive oil into this country. And I can just pick and select the best that they have. So I tried to do that. But I couldn't find anyone I could talk about olive oil to. There's no experts. There was no proper advice. All I could get was, why is this olive oil good and so expensive? Oh, it's a family-run business. It comes from Tuscany.
Okay,
very wishy-washy. Yeah. So I didn't know why it was so good. And when I trained myself to be kind of master olive oil consultant, I knew about the chemical analysis and all of that. So I started asking about that. No one could give me anything, zero, nothing, because they were probably not asking their producers. And I had no access to the producers. So I said, okay, no way, I can't do it. And this is where my finance and banking studies and my work experience come to place. And that came actually with help because, when I was working in my last, I don't know how many years before I dropped it all, I was a retail buyer for very large retail chains, but buying furniture, home accessories, Christmas trees, anything to do for the home, basically, okay? And I was working directly with producers. I was going to factories in, China or Europe, working always direct. Okay, the level of these producers, it was very, very different. We were working with huge budgets. We were buying thousands and thousands of things. And, I could still see these products if they send me samples, but I wanted to see the factory. I needed to see the faces behind these products. And always, the relationship was always very, very important. And we could get much better commercial results if we knew each other well. And if we could then help each other. I was learning from their experience. They knew what was selling better. It was a constant conversation. And I thought, I need to find producers like that I can trust. So I started looking, and I had no idea how to really find olive oil producers. So my first thing, what I did was I started looking at, there's a number of very important olive oil competitions in the world, very prestigious. So there's one in New York, in London, in Berlin, in Tokyo. We now have one now even in Dubai. So I started looking at who is winning awards consistently. And then I started contacting them directly. And the minute we started having proper conversations, I knew whether we could be partners or not. Because some were like proper mass producers. And I didn't want that. Because the mass producers is not what I was looking for. I was looking for, again, someone who knows their product very well, who is not looking to produce this pomace olive oil or olive oil, who is just focusing on the pure quality and health and understands why this is important. So that's how I sieved through all these producers that I found, and I started working with only the ones that we can talk like that, and the management, the owners are always there for me. So they're relatively small, and they always can provide me with the chemical analysis. If they can't, then there's no further conversation. If they don't want to,
Wow.
because and in most cases they have that. The ones I talk to, they do have it because they know that this is important. That's their selling point as well. That look, this is so good. Look at this paper. And if someone doesn't want to provide that, that means they probably know that their olive oil is not at that ultra premium level. And I only wanted to go for that, from the health perspective, but also, I didn't want to compete with the huge distributors that we have here because we have so many, with the supermarkets because we have so many. I wanted to bring something to this market that is above all of that I was looking for, and I couldn't find. So that's how it all went in that circle. Now I'm talking directly to the producers, and I'm buying the products that I wanted back then. And I'm so confident I'm bringing just pure health.
I think that's amazing because also so the health benefits and what you're doing, I think, is incredible. At the same time, you are, I believe, one of the only extra virgin olive oil sommeliers in the Middle East.
Yes, I'm still to meet one. Maybe there is someone, I don't know.
Okay, which is also extremely interesting because when you say sommelier, then you're going to the producers and it's almost like you're going to a chateau, but it's just with extra virgin olive oil. Now, what are the types of services now that you're offering within your business?
Okay. So one of the key things that I understood I needed to do is the education. Because I realized it's such a scientific and complicated topic. Explaining to someone why they should pay, I don't know, 300 dirhams for a bottle of olive oil is very, very difficult if I don't talk to people. So what happened naturally, and it started just with my friends coming over. It's like, oh, listen, I've got these bottles here. Let's try them. They were looking at me. But then we were trying. And then I learned how to properly taste olive oil. That's without the bread. It's without any food. You do the similar thing like you do with wine. When you first warm it up, you smell it, then you inhale. There's a lot of steps to do. So I started doing that at home. And I thought, okay, that's actually really cool. So now I offered that as private tasting experience. So people invite me into their homes when they have dinner parties. So when they wait for food or whatever, we do the proper tasting. And then they try these olive oils with their food. Because again, it's how you then incorporate olive oil with the food you eat. It's not about you changing your diet completely. Because we all come from different backgrounds. I love Mediterranean diet, but you may not. So this is what I do. But I also help new restaurants when they open to help them find the right product, the right olive oil for their dishes, for the finishing, not necessarily for the cooking, because hardly anyone can deep fry in olive oil, but mainly for finishing. So it's more like, depending on the cuisine, obviously. But when with the chefs, we can try, they make dishes in their test kitchen. We can then drizzle a few different ones and see what works well. So then they can communicate to their customers. Okay, listen, we have this, I know, Spanish dish, for example. And this is the olive oil we recommend for. So it's not like they put olive oil on the table and people just drizzle over their food, because that bottle will be gone in a second. And it will be wasted, basically. It's better to do it in a way that a restaurant staff know and they can recommend. Then the experience, also the sensory experience, really changes a lot.
Because I was going to ask you, again, the reason why you're part of the show is because we did something with the Dubai Chefs Collective, and where we were introduced to some of your incredible olive oils and balsamic vinegars. And what was really interesting was the educational part. So what I wanted to ask you is, how have restaurants and chefs reacted when you're giving this education to them?
Most of people are very surprised. Like, I mean, very surprised, because hardly anyone knows about the grades of olive oil. People know extra virgin olive oil and olive oil. It's the same thing, but it's not. So everyone is super, super surprised. But then when we start tasting, and when, this is the point when you understand high quality extra virgin olive oil to any other olive oil or oil. And then when you physically taste it, you see a massive, massive difference. And then you see how you can enhance your dishes by just drizzling or finishing or using a few drops maybe in your vinaigrette, for example. But you need to taste, and you need to understand what good tastes like. So if you see if you feel the burning sensation in your throat, or like peppery feeling or spiciness, that is a good thing. That is not a bad thing. That's a very good thing. And then, okay, I can maybe use it in my more intense dishes, because if I put it over salad, it will destroy my salad, because it will overpower it with the spiciness or with bitterness. But if I use it maybe in some really, really intense vinaigrette, that's a different story. So it's learning these little differences in taste. This is where the sommelier part comes in. Learning these different aspects, because they are tiny in most cases. But then if you're a chef, your dishes also, a tiny difference will make a massive difference to the guest,
What's really interesting is that, so when I was 16, I worked in a pizza restaurant, and the most expensive thing we would invest in would be the extra virgin olive oil, but it wasn't for the table. So we would make the pizzas, finish them with the oregano, and then we would put on every pizza extra virgin olive oil over the top before we baked it.
Oh, lovely.
Right? So I never understood it, because I was a kid then, and I was like, it's so expensive. But we would have to do it. It was part of the standard operating procedures in every recipe. So then, and that made a huge difference, because we obviously used to test with or without, and with every single time was delicious and incredible. And obviously it was because of that.
Yeah.
At the same time, if you were to have now a pizza restaurant or a Michelin-starred fine dining restaurant, that extra virgin olive oil experience is incredible, because also you can have different levels within the meal talking about extra virgin olive oil, right?
Absolutely.
So I think it's quite interesting, and I think we've only just started to learn about this topic.
It's very interesting, and it's still a long way to go. But you know what I did recently with one of the chefs? We developed like a proper, it's a private chef who basically cooks meals for us when we do the private tasting, because another experience is, okay, we can do the tasting, but also we can bring a private chef who then cooks for you. So we developed the whole menu, of actually 5 different sets of menus from different Mediterranean regions that then are complemented with our olive oils and vinegars. So that is a beautiful experience when you physically first you taste, and then you use these products, or the chef drizzles the dishes with these products as and when they cook. It's absolutely amazing, and it really does change your perception of olive oil, because at the end of your experience, you even get ice cream with olive oil. So you can see, how it can be used and how it can change your food. Because first, okay, you get it, and then you drizzle a little bit of olive oil. You see how different it tastes.
But is that experience done within a private home setting or a supper club?
Private home settings.
So then it should turn into a supper club, because you can imagine now supper clubs are a huge thing here. So if we were to have a supper club setting that you're talking about these olive oils, and then you're showing people this, I think it's quite phenomenal. But would you open a school ever for people to learn?
Not a school, but you know what I want to have, and it's my ultimate dream: a proper olive oil tasting bar.
Wow.
A proper
Love
bar.
that. Love it.
That is my dream. It's something that I believe will happen at some point, because obviously it does require a lot of investment, because I want really a location that is, I know, the IFC or downtown, somewhere like really, really amazing, with people that can come in, they can sit literally like at the champagne bar,
Right.
but they can be served olive oil, and then they can try it with some amazing breads or tapas, something little, but again, that will just blow your senses away. That is my ultimate
That sounds
dream,
amazing.
because that would then also become kind of a school, because whoever would work there would know everything about olive oil.
But do you think since you started that journey, how has the perception and the awareness been raised?
Obviously, within my community, it's been raised a lot because I talk about this a lot. And I can also see my customers keep coming back. Because once you try, there's always almost no going back. I tell people, if you travel abroad to Italy, to Spain, to Greece, always bring a lot of olive oil with you, because here it's more expensive and it's more difficult. So once you try, once you understand, and once you know how powerful this food is, then why not? Because you don't need to change massively your diet in any way. You just replace your current fat. It makes it tastier. But it's a long way. I constantly get the questions, oh, can you cook with the olive oil? Or, why is it so bitter? And there's why is olive oil not the same as extra virgin? What is pure olive oil? What is light olive oil? People don't know because it's so complicated. And
My question to you now is, have you been approached or have you had the opportunity to talk to supermarkets about what you're doing?
Yes.
Because that's obviously, supermarkets are extremely lucrative. But at the same time, I believe that there is a space in supermarkets for what you're doing.
Yes, there is space. And the good news is, well, first of all, I'm very, very selective who I work with, because I don't want to work with supermarkets that in general don't offer quality. So we will never, that would never be a match. But the exciting news is, and I cannot say who that is my range of selected olive oils will be available with one of the top supermarkets soon.
Congratulations.
And they are all about quality, so I'm happy. But we wanted to do, the reason we decided to work together is that they want to communicate why this is a good product and why it's good to consume, and how to recognize how to consume it, how to use in the kitchen. And they recognize I can do that, no one else can do that. And that what kind of brought me to them as well, because they want to do it. If I just don't want my bottles everywhere and anywhere, because they would get lost and people would be like, why is it so expensive? Because the fact is that they are pricey. But if you look at it in a different way, you go to, I don't know, to a Saturday brunch, you spend the same amount of money, and within a few hours you are just full, you've eaten a lot, you feel bad the next day. For the same amount of money, you can have a bottle of olive oil that will last you for the entire month.
But can you put a price on your health, Magdalena?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's the thing, right?
Yeah. So, but the education needs to be there all the time. And that's one of the things we as a business need to do more of. But again, it's, we are still a very young business. I've been running Aroma Di Olio for a year and a half, maybe. Yeah, about a year and a half. So we are still, growing and evolving. And I know that with the plans I have because constantly, like, I'm very strategic. I'm constantly thinking, like, I could do this, I could do that.
Banking. I blame on the banking.
Physically, I blame it now on finance. Finance is what you need. And I always had this idea that this business is not going to be a tiny little business or my hobby. It's not. It's going to be big and powerful, and it will grow, and it will serve a lot of people. It will get a lot of people healthier. But to do that,
of course,
I need a lot of money.
Look,
so that is...
I think it's amazing. And the other thing I wanted to say to you is that I think it's quite nice that you would have extra virgin olive oils on the shelf that only run for a month. I think that's also amazing, because it's limited time. So you want to always renew.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah, we do that even now. Some of the products that I buy are produced in such a limited quantity that whatever I manage to buy, it sells out. We have to wait until the next harvest. Or there are some trees in Spain, for example, that we source of the farm that we source from. The trees are over 1,000 years old, so you get this millennial extra virgin olive oil, and every single tree is UNESCO certified. There's only 37 of these trees, and they are so sensitive to climate changes, to environment, that they don't even give fruit every year. So when I have a
That's
bottle,
amazing. What a story.
every single bottle is like hand numbers. You get, I don't know, bottle number 2 out of 400. And now these bottles, I buy them for our clients here in the UAE, but they now almost snatched out by Harrods constantly. Like when they appear, like, oh, we want them all. I was like, no, you keep some for me, because I have a really good relationship with the producer now. So they always know to keep some for me, although Harrods is, a much better customer probably for them. But some of these olive oils are just pieces of art.
Wow.
And I don't mean because they have, I know, gold in them. Some of them do. I don't buy that because I don't really believe the appearance doesn't really matter. But some are, again, these are from 1,000-year-old trees. There are some that are what we call night harvest. They are harvested at night, as I was saying, to be processed first thing in the morning. So they are not exposed to light at all. And because it's very difficult and expensive to harvest at night, it only happens at one night in a year at the very beginning of the harvest. So again, every single bottle is numbered. There's only a few hundred produced in the entire
So they're like
harvest
vintage.
season. They are vintage. But it doesn't mean that if you buy it, you should keep it in a cupboard and never touch it. You consume it straight away. Because again, the fresher, the better. It's not like wine. It's
Right.
like it's olive oil. It's like fresh juice of a fruit. The fresher, the better. So you consume it straight away.
So then, Magdalena, one of the last questions before we go into the quick fire
Ooh.
is, you've been in the region for some time,
Yeah, about 10 years.
so you understand the dining scene here. What are your predictions for the future of dining within the UAE and the MENA region?
Okay. So what I'm thinking, it did change massively. Oh my God, it changed so much. And I must say, I enjoy what we have here now. I love the fact that a restaurant that I would call super fine dining 10 years ago is much more accessible to me now. Because there is so many of them, and there is so many really, really good restaurants. Like, I mean, like, you can go to, I don't know, anywhere in town and you find something really tasty. Okay, maybe on the higher in the higher price range, but you wouldn't call it fine dining because you can still afford it once in a while. And I love all the shows and entertainments. I like that. And I love the innovation in the kitchen, how the dishes are presented. But on the other hand, less and less surprises you now, and less impresses you anymore. So I think all these chefs and restaurants have to fight really, really hard, and every detail matters. So I see, okay, olive oil is something that can make a difference sometimes, right, in the restaurant. I don't know whether especially the Dubai scene can grow anymore with the, I don't know how many thousands of restaurants we have and so many exceptional chefs that we have here. I don't know even there's a city in the entire world that has got a similar concentration of excellent chefs and restaurants. I just don't know. To me, this is like a heaven, foodie heaven. And guess what? Here and in the recent years, I go out more often than I ever have, because to me it's like an adventure. I want to see, I want to try, I want to, there's something new all the time. And obviously you are influenced a little bit by Instagram and what you see there. But it's like a never ending story. It's like going, an adventure every single time you go out. And I ended up often not returning often to the same places, not because I don't like them, but because there's so many others I want to try. And I'm not sure whether that's good for business.
But I think the government have done an amazing job
Mm.
pushing so many restaurants. I mean, there are above 13,000 just in Dubai.
Oh my God.
Just in Dubai. And of course, we have the Michelin guide here, going below 50 best. We are ranked in the world. So previously, you'd think London, Paris, New York, Tokyo,
Yeah.
but also the eyes are here in Dubai and the MENA region because people really understand how incredible we are here. And, your extra virgin olive oils are going to be part of that amazing journey.
Absolutely.
So it is exciting and it is amazing. It's difficult to keep up. I have to
It
say it's difficult to keep
is.
up. But yeah, we'll see. Only the strongest will survive, I think. We'll see
Yeah.
what's going to happen over the next few years.
Although on the other hand, I believe there is still place maybe for even all these 13,000 restaurants with the expansion plans for the city, with so many people, new people coming,
Yeah.
and the government strategy to double the population of Dubai, I think. So maybe we should have 13,000 restaurants and they will all thrive. I
Yeah.
hope so. I hope so.
So, I hope you're ready. Quick fire questions.
Oh my God. Okay.
First thing, I'm not going to ask you, okay, well, sweet or salty?
Oh, both together. Salty caramel. Think about that.
Okay, salted caramel, very good.
Yes.
Spicy or pickled?
Spicy.
Spicy? I thought you had gone for pickled.
Spicy.
I thought you had gone for pickled.
I love my food when it's spicy, when it's intense. I hate bland food.
Okay, especially for you, pierogi or kielbasa?
Absolutely pierogi.
Okay, so then goulash or gotabki?
Oh, you're not pronouncing it right.
Sorry, I do apologize. My Polish isn't great.
Okay, gołąbki, right? You mean gołąbki,
Yes,
right?
sorry, yeah.
Okay.
That's what I meant, yes.
Okay, both of these dishes are traditionally meat-based, but I can make them both plant-based. I hate gołąbki. To me, it's a big no for some reason. I absolutely hate it because it's a cooked cabbage with some grains inside. Oh, it's absolutely disgusting.
That sounds lovely.
Yeah, but goulash, I make it super spicy with lots of veggies.
Plant-based?
Absolutely plant-based. You can make it with filled mushrooms, for example.
We'll get the recipe later from you. No
So
problem.
yeah, goulash.
Favorite ingredient?
Extra virgin olive oil.
All right. I thought you were going to be a bit more adventurous.
Sophisticated?
Adventurous. What right now? What are your favorite top 3 cuisines that you love to eat?
Okay. Okay. I won't surprise you here. It's the Mediterranean.
All right.
However, we have so many of them. So I think at the minute, okay, Italian has always been my favorite, and there's no change to that. And I kind of keep switching between Spanish and Greek. But then, and I only discovered that when I'm here in this region, is the Lebanese. Because I think it is classed as actually Mediterranean diet as well. To me, it's the Lebanese with the proper hummus, with drizzled with olive oil, with the really nicely made bread. And it's also simple. Simple in a way that, okay, apart from the meats, I never look at the meats, but there's so few dishes that are so excellent that I don't need anything else. So yeah, to me, it's the Lebanese as well.
Who would you say are your top 3 culinary heroes?
Oh my God.
And they don't necessarily need to be chefs.
Okay. It does change often. As with the restaurants I like, everything changes often in my life because I think there's so much going on around us. I just don't like sticking to the same things and places. Okay, there's one guy who changed me how I look at my health, help me understand how I look at my health and food. He's called Dr. Simon Poole from the UK. I discovered him and his work while I was still doing cancer treatment. He is a GP who is obsessed with extra virgin olive oil and the Mediterranean diet, and he wrote 2 books: the Real Mediterranean Diet and the Olive Oil Diet. I take so much of his work, so these 2 books are always there with me, always in my kitchen. So Dr. Simon Poole, he's fantastic. He's also an international speaker. He does a lot of educational work. He's absolutely amazing. So I really would love him to come over here. We are already talking for making this happen, but we'll see how that goes.
So he's number 1.
He's number 1, Dr. Simon Poole. Okay, there's this lady, Jessie. She's got a very, very difficult French surname. Inchowske? Anyway, she is known as the glucose goddess.
Goddess, yes.
So I absolutely love her because not only she talks about the carbs and the sugars and how badly they may affect our health, she is biochemist, so she's a scientist, and she can very clearly explain scientific information to the public. And I love that because I want to be like her. I want to be able to explain like her the scientific complexity of olive oil. I'm not at her level at all, but she to me is like, oh my God, she just explains something super complicated in 30 seconds. And I understood. So to me, she is like, not only she's working on the cause that is, I think, affects a lot of people in the world, but also she does it in a really
She has amazing books.
amazing books, amazing communication. So here.
The last one?
And the last one will actually be a chef. And it's Heston. It's Heston Blumenthal. It is because I discovered him when I lived in the UK. So it was many, many years ago. He had this TV show when it was all about him and his staff cooking.
Fantastical feasts.
I think that's what it was.
Yes.
And until now, I remember when he told his guests, and now you can eat the wall, or now you can eat the cutlery. Oh, what is this guy doing? So I love him being a chemist in the kitchen. So we wanted to go, I think it was the Fat Duck, right, in the UK. We wanted to go there. And it was, again, when we discovered him, it was such a long time ago. We were like, really, to us, it was like, there will be like an outing of the year. But we couldn't get on the wait list even. It was so difficult to get to. So the first time we ate at Heston's restaurants was here when the Atlantis, the Royal, opened. And so straight away, I was like, we have to go there. And that was, oh my God, that was just amazing. Every single dish, every single ingredient, every single explanation and interaction with the staff was just top class. So to me, he's such a perfectionist. There's no compromise on anything.
Amazing. Now, what advice would you give for anyone who wants to start their journey with extra virgin olive oils?
Oh gosh. You mean like for business or for personal?
Personal.
Okay. So my advice is very simple. It can make you healthier, and it can make your food tastier, and you don't need to really change much. You don't need to change at all anything apart from swapping your fat with extra virgin olive oil. That's all it needs to happen. Because straight away you will get the amounts that you need, and your health will thank you within a matter of weeks. It's that fast.
What advice would you give to 16-year-old Magdalena?
Oh my God. Okay. I would say do whatever you feel is right at that time. You will have no regrets. I went through so many things in my life. I tried so many things. I've been to so many places. Nothing would ever at that stage would point me towards where I am now. Like I had no idea. I was very confused. But then after all these years, all these experiences, all the people I met, all the places I visited, they all give me something back. So I can learn from that. I can use that experience now. I know people in different parts of the world. Someone always is there to help, to talk to. So I would say, don't stress if you don't know your path in life. It will come. To me, it came when I was 38 or 39, and in the most unexpected way. But now I know this is my way, this is my calling, this is me. But it took a very long time to get there. So I would say, yeah, don't stress, don't get freaked out, and just go with the flow.
Now, if anybody wants to get hold of you through social media, how can they do that?
So I'm always on LinkedIn. I love LinkedIn. And it's my full name, Magdalena Orzechowska. And on Instagram, obviously there is my business profile, Aroma Di Olio, or my personal profile, where actually you can see me more probably going out to restaurants and eating a lot. It's just called Magda herself.
So I'll put all of that in the show notes for everyone to have that. Now, Magdalena, I just wanted to have a recap of what we've discussed because it's been amazing. So from your childhood food memories, that sandwich, we have to go and make it soon because it sounds really delicious, to the types of food growing up, the different soups that you were having, to then your education path that, took you down lots of different ways, to then going to sunny London on a barge with the legendary Michael. Thank you very much for that. To then, of course, your diagnosis that changed your life, which then led you to, understand the incredible health benefits of extra virgin olive oils, which then has now given you an incredible business, and you're helping so many people. So on behalf of the Chef JKP podcast, please carry on the amazing work that you're doing, because it is incredibly important. Keep inspiring people, because it is amazing what you're doing. Chefs, restaurateurs, people at home, everybody needs to know about your journey and the health benefits of extra virgin olive oil. I wish you the very best of luck with the launch into different businesses and the supermarkets, and really just want to say thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you for having me. It was really a pleasure.